Tennessee playing at home, checkered Neyland. It was absolutely beautiful. Another shout out. I know we only do like one. We're not supposed to do anymore, but Texas A&M Aggie fans, bro, they traveled so well yesterday. They had the goal of messing up the checkered Neyland. I forgive them for that because we won. But, dude, it was kind of scary. Like when we got into our seats and you could see them sprinkled in everywhere. And then they had the lower bowl section. They had the upper bowl section. I don't know if they really showed off the upper bowl on TV as much. You could kind of see it from the zoomed out angle. But it was kind of scary, especially for the first half. I mean, there was nothing to really cheer about. Aggie fans were loud in Neyland, and it was kind of like it was scaring. I know everybody in the stands up until a big special teams play, but let's jump right into it, man. 20-13 win, a big win, a win that I thought we would pull out because I knew Mike Johnson would make some mistakes, which he did in the fourth quarter. But something I didn't really take into consideration, even though we talk about it, is Joe Milton. The guy is who he is, and we say it every week. I just didn't think it'd be that bad. I forgave him for so long because, he wasn't making those big mistakes as far as turning the ball over. Here lately, he's not making the big plays and he's turning the ball over. I've got nothing left to forgive him on or to keep taking his side on. But nonetheless, the running game came through. The defense carried. It was a berry day. And we got the win. What do you think?
I will say this about Joe Milton, and no excuses. Yesterday he didn't look very good. I mean, his final stats, he had a 50% completion rating. He was 11 of 22 for 100 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 pick. But also, he wasn't getting help from his receivers yesterday. And I know that the passes weren't fantastic. There was some that was thrown behind, a little bit overthrown, something like that. But Skylar, what is the number one thing that you are taught as a wide receiver?
Hands on the ball, you got to catch it.
Exactly. Ramel Keaton dropped a wide open touchdown pass, and I texted you right after because
got bailed out.
It was a roughing the passer penalty too, and I said he just got bailed out big time for that. And
you got a big point there. But in the moment, I was pissed off because I didn't. In the moment, being there, I didn't think it was a roughing the passer call. But watching the replay, you see how egregious he literally slapped Joe Milton's helmet.
Right.
And that was granted. So that was warranted. But at the end of the day, you could have declined that penalty if he catches the ball and runs for another 20 yards for a touchdown, which would have been a massive play, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at how the rest of the game played out, that would have been a huge play going forward. But, I mean, one thing I was happy to see Joe Milton in the second half, and it was almost too little too late. He finally got into the running game. He finally started keeping some of those reads because A&M was starting to key on the running backs a little bit more, and he got some much-needed yards that opened up the running game more when it started to shut down a little bit in the second half. So I'll say that much. Like you said, he is what he is at this point. We've been saying it for the last few weeks. Running game was huge yesterday. Jalen Wright is an absolute dude, and I'm so happy he plays for Tennessee. But I also feel bad because if he was to play for anybody else, dude would win the Maxwell Award this year. But because he shares it with 2 other guys that are really good, he's not going to win that award, but he's still going to have 1,000 yards rushing this year. I'm calling it right now.
Jalen Wright, man, he's a dog. I was very surprised to see how successful the run game was when A&M even knew like we were running the ball. Like there was no surprise to it. There was no, I don't know. Like one thing that kind of ticks me off about the offense a little bit. I promise I'm proud of the win. Don't get me wrong, but it seems like when we make a big play or get a long run, we run up to the line, right? Which is great. You got to get that play off. But then it's like everybody in the freaking nation knows there's going to be another run play.
Yes, you're going to run the ball immediately after that.
Exactly. Like, if for some reason we don't go back to pack or for first down and 10 when you're trying to move the chains or whatever, and you don't throw the ball. Like, one thing that was kind of wild to see is the fact that we never really threw it sideline to sideline yesterday. Maybe twice, 3 times, but how many times you see 3rd and 15, 3rd and 20, and we run it for like 12 to 20 yards? I mean, on 3rd down. I mean, that's something that I guess it's understandable because the defense just has to think that you're throwing the ball, but when you can't trust your quarterback because he can't read a safety, you got to run the ball.
Yeah, because that interception that he threw, it was just a matter of he didn't read the safety correctly, and he once again he underthrew the ball. It's one of those constant things. It's almost like it's in the back of his head. He's been told so many times. He's heard so many times all these fans overthrow Joe. He's always overthrowing it, this, that, and the other. And now he's not putting enough air under it. He's underthrowing it. And you see the interception against South Carolina whenever he threw it downfield to Jacob Warren was underthrown.
Yep.
The interception that he threw yesterday against Texas A&M, underthrown. The other one in the South Carolina game, it was just, he didn't see the other safety, but we knew it was going to come back to bite him eventually, and it has the last couple of weeks in underthrowing the ball. But one thing I would like to see a little bit more of, and maybe Josh Heupel and Joey Halzle just aren't comfortable with it. Can we see a few more slants or like underneath routes? I feel like we're either
don't throw it behind him. Yeah, I mean,
well, I feel like we're either throwing to the sideline or we're trying to throw downfield. We're not opening up the middle of the field. We saw it a couple of times yesterday with Chaz Nimrod.
yeah,
But I feel like we're not seeing it enough. Would you agree a little bit on that?
I would agree with that. But there was another touchdown pass to Ramel Keaton, or at least a long gain, and he threw it kind of behind him, but Ramel still got both hands on the ball, and we drop it. There was a pass to. It might have been Ramel Keaton. It might have been Chaz. I can't remember the actual receiver, but everybody remembers the play because it hit his hands. It doing straight into McAllen Castle's hands, and then he takes it for the first down on a 3rd and 6, which was a very lucky play, by the way. I don't know, man. I wanted to rewatch the game this morning. I like skimmed through it. I didn't really watch it because it felt like, and referees were atrocious on both sides of the ball, but felt like we were shooting ourselves in the foot really badly. I've never seen our offense struggle so badly to get in the end zone against any team. I mean, we typically score 13-20 on Georgia, Bama. I mean, it doesn't, but to do it against A&M, I mean, that was pretty rough. But, in the beginning of the game, we're going for it on 4th down. We probably should kick the field goal. We're kicking a field goal on 4th down when we probably should be going for it on 4th. Like, I felt like the coaching decisions wasn't really there. Joe Milton's football IQ is terrible. He's taking hits when he shouldn't. He's running out of bounds when he should. Look, one play that he did where he scrambled out, it was a free play because they jumped off sides, and he runs out of bounds.
Chunk it downfield.
Huh?
Chunk it downfield because it's not. It's not going to count against you because, like you said, it's a free play. Go for the deep shot on that one because if it is intercepted,
there's no risk.
You know what? You're getting the ball back. If it's incomplete, you know what? You're still moving up 5 yards. I mean,
but even then, I'm okay with the decision he had to run it because he had the first down. But then instead of lowering the shoulder and picking up another yard or two, he runs out of bounds. And then what happens? 3rd and 2, we run it up the middle and get stuffed, and now it's 4th down, we're punting the ball. Makes no sense. But then on a 2nd and 5, Joe Milton runs it for like 15 to 20 yards. Okay, great. You picked up the first down. Now run out of bounds. No, he lowers the shoulder, talks some shit, and then he gets picked off 2 plays later. Like, oh, dude, that pissed me off. I think any fan knows, like, what that sequence was like. But it's like, as far as the IQ thing, you got to know when to get out of bounds. You got to know when to make the hit. When it's 3rd and 2 and you're scrambling, you lower the shoulder, get the first down. When you've got the first down by 20 yards, get out of bounds and save your body. Like there's a big difference in the type of situations there that he's got to be smarter at. But another play, it was 4th down and I don't know how many yards, but we scramble out to the outside. We have like 3 out routes. McAllen Castles was trying to block, but he ends up blocking the dude in the way of Dylan Sampson, who's doing the out route. But then you got Ramel behind him. Nobody's open. Joe doesn't know whether to run or to throw it. He ends up throwing it very last second. It was kind of picked off, but it was out of bounds. Turnover on downs. Very indecisive. When the play is not there for Joe and it's not called on, he's not making the play. He's not doing something off script. And it's nothing new. We've seen this all year. But luckily, the defense is like 98 and actually winning us games. And at some point, Joe is going to cost us a game. It may be next week.
Don't take it too far with the defense thing being like 98 because this is not the 98 defense. But
is it not? Is it not?
No, it is not the 98
Oh, you're
defense.
right. You're right.
But
It was it was a very good game though. Like they had a.
it was very good, and I see your comparison there. But please don't compare this in the 98 defense.
When's the last time a defense from Tennessee won games, bro? 98. All right.
I'll go back to the Eric Ainge days, back around 05, 06. Defense won some games then, but you're correct. I mean, it's been a long time since defense won games for Tennessee. But to your point, this is the last thing I want to say about Joe Milton because we've kind of bashed him a little bit. You're 100% correct on that.
Not bashing. He's just not winning us games. Like,
yeah, right.
He's.
And you're right. He's not making a lot of the correct decisions, and he's not making those off scripted plays. But in his defense on the fourth down play, and he does have to make that decision quicker. He's got to make a good decision there. But I actually rewatched the first quarter this morning. That's all I could rewatch. Ramel Keaton and Dylan Sampson, after they got so far over on the sideline with that out route, they just stopped and stood there.
Yeah.
When Ramel Keaton,
scramble drill, you got to take off, go somewhere else. Like you got to,
Ramel Keaton was the further guy back, and I've rewatched that play 3 times. After he got to the sideline, the defenders were in front of him. All he had to do was just leak out to the end zone. There was nobody there, and all Joe has to do at that point is just lob it over everybody and give it to him. Now,
well, one thing I loved about that play, one thing I do love about that play, which nobody's going to hear this, they're only going to hear the negative. Joe Milton went straight to them and was like, "Hey, you got to change something." Like when I'm scrambling out to the right and y'all are going the same way, like you could see him talking to his players as they were going to commercial or whatever, and he was like, "Hey, you got to do something different. Like you can't just give up on the play." So, no, you're absolutely right. But let's talk about the great in this game, and that's the rushing game. The rushing game, what was it, 232 yards, which is like literally exactly what we were averaging a game. A&M had the best rush defensive line or defense, coming into this game. That didn't stop us one bit, even when they knew we were running the ball. Love to see that. I mean, what does that tell you about having Cooper Mays back in this line?
That is a huge, huge gain for Tennessee having Cooper Mays back. And not that he is this fantastic player, although he is very, very good.
But he's just in control.
Yes, leadership, the fact that he is in control and these guys feed off of that right there. He's able to get them into the right sets, into the right blocking schemes. And I heard, I think it was Eric this past week on the Eric Ainge show say, the coaches were talking about in the South Carolina game that the defensive line was throwing things at Tennessee that they hadn't even gone over. But Cooper, he was able to read it out there and get all the guys in the right blocking schemes. And that was the difference, is just having him out there, having that leadership out there is huge for this Tennessee offensive line.
Absolutely. They played one hell of a game. It's kind of crazy to think that they got such a good push on A&M's. By the way, A&M's defensive line, it's like 5-star, 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 5-star on top of 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. Like it was
5-star should be at Tennessee. And
I do want to kind of throw some prayers at him. He got hurt. I actually got into a little bit of, it wasn't really a scuffle, but somebody got mad at me, even though I was mad at everybody else. When he went down, it was an apparent injury. Like everybody knew he was hurt or should have known he was hurt. It wasn't like a cramp where he was trying to stop the play, but you hear everybody at Neyland boo. Gary Danielson's like, "Oh, they're booing because they think they're trying to slow him down." No, like that was wrong on so many cases. And then when the stretcher gets pulled out, I said a word I wasn't supposed to say, but I was very passionate and I was pissed off at my own fans. Because I was like, how do y'all effing feel now that he's getting put on a stretcher and y'all were just booing this kid 45 seconds ago? Well, then a dad or a grandfather, I'm not sure, he was an older gentleman, but he was like, "Hey, man, my daughter's sitting right there. Like, can you not say the F word?" I'm like, okay, you got a point. You're in Neyland. Your daughter's definitely of age to see things on the internet, probably has a phone, so she's heard worse, I promise. But you're actually okay with everybody else booing a kid out of disrespect? Like, I was mad at my own dude. But, like, he had a point. I should have watched my mouth. But I just, if I could do anything on this show, is to teach other fans when it's right or wrong to boo an injury. When like UT Martin, when 3 guys go down at once as they're trying to line up to the ball, that's a perfect time to boo, bro, because that's exactly what they're coached to do, is to go down. But in that play, he got hit and he never got up, and he was hurt. Like when a player is rolling around out of like panic or like hitting the ground because he's mad that he's hurt, you can, if you play the sport, like what is in real injury and what's not. When somebody's grabbing his calf and just sitting there like waiting on the training staff to get there, that's a different story. But no, man, I do want to. Hopefully, he's good though. I know he never returned. I don't know if he will return. But Walter Nolan, he was wreaking havoc though. I mean, up until that moment. So, but prayers out to him. Hopefully, everything is good. He did go to high school in Knoxville. Kind of juked the fans out a little bit, thinking that he was going to commit here. But no, the running game was great for Tennessee, but I still don't think that was what won the game for him.
It was the defense. The defense.
Well, yeah, the defense, but I'm still going somewhere else with that.
Okay, let's hear it.
This game yesterday was 75%. The reason why we won is the guy that I wanted to see on offense and never actually got on offense, which pissed me off. But you know what he did? He didn't care. All he did was down the ball inside the half-yard line on a punt that we made. Turn around 4 plays later, takes it to the house, 39 yards. Ladies and gentlemen, D. Williams is him, okay? He's my Heisman front runner, and he touches the ball twice a game, dude. My man D. Williams, bro, he is different. He is built different. Gary and whatever the hell the other one dude's name is, I don't care. It's CBS broadcasters. They were like, dude, he's just begging to get a ball. He's just begging to take one to the house. Absolutely. And I'll be damned if it's not the first one he returned. And the move he put on that dude, I don't know what number he was. My man's ankles were broke. Like, he did like a little out, in, and then back out. Oh, geez, God dang. And then his touchdown celebration was just top notch, bro. Let me tell you, man, D. Williams, the fact that he was the player that downed it and then turned around and was the player that returned it. I get it. It's a team sport, but come on, man. My man D. Williams is all over the place.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say that I was surprised that he didn't get on the field on offense yesterday, because I knew that they were kind of working him in a little bit, but I didn't think that they would, put him in. I didn't think that they would put him in right away after that bye week. But, I mean, you're 100% correct. That was the game changer in yesterday's game. Was Tennessee was down 10-7, and the offense at that point was stagnant. A&M was stopping the run game at this point. And what was the punter's name?
Jackson Ross.
Yeah, Jackson Ross, beautiful punt. D. Williams gets down there. He downs it inside the 1. Defense stands up strong right there.
Yes, they do.
And then the punt return. After that, that's whenever the momentum shifted.
Well, that's when Nealon woke up, dude.
Yes.
Like,
A&M still got a field goal. It might have been the next drive.
Yeah.
But they never really got anything going after that. And that's whenever I get to Joe Milton at this point on offense. He finally started keeping it some on the read options. And that's when the offense woke back up and they ended up getting another score later. But you're 100% correct. That was the game changer yesterday, was D. Williams.
Absolutely. And, that game may even be closer than what it should have been, because if we can minimize mistakes and penalties, dude, so many missed opportunities. This game was such a missed opportunities type of game, but also, like I said, the reason why I say mixed emotions is because, man, I'm so proud of the way the defense and the special teams played, but so frustrated with the way the offensive passing game played, because I can't be mad at the whole offense. The rushing game was amazing, and we got the win, so I'm not mad. I just know that, like, long term, all right, Texas A&M, I mean, maybe not even the top 3 of the opponents that we still have to play down the stretch. So the fact that we couldn't get it going against A&M, like, are we going to get it going against Missouri? Are we going to get it going against Bama next week? Georgia? I mean, those are some tough games. We got Kentucky still. I just want to see a full game. I felt like we had a great 4 quarters of a game. I just felt like there was a whole element to our team that just wasn't clicking for some reason. I wanted to talk about Ramel Keaton and Joe Milton
Okay.
because I don't know what it is about them two. They just are not connecting. I think maybe Ramel had 6 targets. I don't know. I don't think he caught the ball. I think he was like literally 0 for. He was 0 for in targets and receptions or whatever. Like, just for whatever reason, couldn't get him the ball. And that can't happen. He's literally your wide receiver 2. Well, now 1. So, I don't know, man.
I disagree with that. You were right the first time. He's wide receiver 2 because Squirrel White is wide receiver 1. And credit to Texas A&M. They shut down Squirrel White yesterday. He only had 3 receptions for 29 yards yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, wide receiver. Yes, I see what you're saying. As far as most productive, Ramel Keaton's your wide out guy. He's the guy you're going to line up outside. That's your wide receiver 1. I mean, Squirrel's the slot guy. Yeah, slot guy. And I guess I shouldn't say 1, 2, but you know what I meant. Like, Ramel is your big guy on the outside. I guess now it's Nimrod. I mean, he was the most receptions for 31 yards. But just a really non-productive day on the passing game. I really wanted to see the tight ends have more of a passing effect or reception effect. But
I'm glad you brought that up because we talked about, D. Williams was a guy that you wanted to see last week. The guy I want to see get more involved is Jacob Warren because, and I could be wrong on this stat, but other than the interception in the South Carolina game, I think every single attempt that has been thrown to Jacob Warren, he has come
catch. Yeah.
In a catch. So, and him and Squirrel are your 2 most reliable receivers, and you're not getting him the ball.
Yep.
On the same note there with the wide receivers, what about Dante Thornton? Did he even play yesterday?
Who?
Dante Thornton.
Who?
I mean, he
he was on the field. He definitely played. I just, who? I don't know who that guy is.
To my knowledge,
that was supposed to be our deep threat guy. That was supposed to be the dude that was the Jalen Hyatt of the offense that could break away, and we've not seen it, dude. It's crazy. But now I will say this. I was there at the game. There was some deep shots that were open or not the deep shots that were open, but the deep shots took the safety and the underneath guy, and then there was a crossing route that we're talking about needs to get going. It would be wide open, but Joe's not. He doesn't care about the short stuff. It's like he's wanting to hit the deep stuff, and either way, it's not a big deal. Kind of want to talk about the A&M side of the ball. Max Johnson took a beating, but, man, he showed a lot of toughness. Fourth quarter, you're asking a lot of him to stay in the pocket when he knows he's about to get killed. His offensive line false started about 17 times, but it never got called, but it's okay. But they jumped so early because they knew they were getting beat up front. We did force him into mistakes as we needed to. But as much as we're harping on Joe Milton for going 50%, Max Johnson only went 16 to 34. He did have 223 yards, but he never threw a touchdown pass. In fact, he threw 2 interceptions. So we shut down their running game. I think total rushing yards, we might have had them below 50.
54 is what I have.
Okay, 54. I was trying to do on-the-spot math because it's counting in the sack yardage, which I don't like, but it's counting in the sack yardage, so I knew we had them pretty low. But, dude, that's a win. That's such a big win, which our run defense has always been good. It gets overshadowed a lot. But the fact that we were able to shut that down, our secondary played good enough. They were out of position a couple times, but, overall, one thing that stood out to me is tackling. We struggled tackling last week more than anything. And this week, we didn't. I mean, Aaron Beasley made a tackle. It was like a 1st and 5, but it was like an out route. And he held on to his feet, but got him down. And that's something that we've not been able to do in the open field is bring down a guy or stop him. And that was really good to see. But I know I said I want to talk about A&M, then I somehow flipped it back to Tennessee. But what do you need to see from A&M down the road? Because I don't think they're a bad team, man. They got a great defense. But what is lacking there for Jimbo is he's now 0-8 in true road games. What's got to change for him? They're 4-3 now, 2-2 in the SEC. What do you think?
You got to get the running game going better.
Yeah,
I know. Credit to Tennessee. Their defensive front. They did a really, really good job of stuffing the run game yesterday. But they've got to get it going a little bit more. They had 28 rushing attempts yesterday and 34 passing attempts. And I know that seems balanced on paper, but when you actually watch the game, the amount of times that A&M dropped back and tried to pass it instead of trying to get that running game going a little bit more, it was a little bit disturbing to see, especially when you've got talent like you do in the backfield. Like Le'Veon Moss, he's a really, really good running back, but he's being underutilized in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I think you got to work on that. And, once again, credit Tennessee's front, but the offensive line for A&M is not doing a great job. We talked last week in the A&M Alabama game. I asked you the question.
5 sacks? Yeah.
Yeah, I asked you the question. Is the offensive line for both teams that bad, or is the defensive front for both teams that good? And we said that the defensive fronts were that good, but we don't think the offensive lines are that bad. Is A&M's offensive line that bad?
No, because now you're implying that our defensive line is not good, and I disagree with that. I think our defensive line is just as good as Bama's, as I said last week. I said I don't think they're maybe better than Bama, but I don't think they're worse, And I know that's kind of like a comp-out explanation, but hell, the boys proved it yesterday. I mean, they were egregious up front, and to that point, I think A&M probably is a decent team. I mean, okay, I do want to point this out because I know it's going to be said. A&M was a good team last week because they hung with Bama. They turned the corner as far as what happened in Miami, which Gary Danielson, they played Miami, not Florida. You done it? Sorry. He said it several times when I was replaying the game that he kept saying they lost to Florida. And I'm like, no, they didn't, dude. But the running game for A&M, I think, will come alive. I think the offense will. And I think A&M actually finishes the home stretch maybe better than what it feels like they're going to right now. But they've played back-to-back really good defensive teams. And I think it's just unfortunate for Jimbo. It all looks bad for him. But again, this is not something that we didn't predict. I mean, this is something that we kind of felt was going to happen. You predicted A&M to be really bad this year just because Jimbo's not proven it. And yet here he is, week 7 of the season, and he's still not really proven it. I mean, what I hate for A&M fans, because they're really nice people. They're really nice people, most of them. They're in every game, almost like Arkansas, okay? And we'll talk about Arkansas later.
Yeah.
They're in every game, but dude, for whatever reason, they just can't finish it.
And I think some of it too is Jimbo Fisher.
It could be.
His whole career, in my opinion, he is riding off of that national championship that he had at Florida State.
Jameis Winston?
Yes. I don't think
built by Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I think it was just the players he had around him that year. I don't think Jimbo is a great coach. He's riding off that one year that they won the national championship. And I think he's a big reason that A&M is not able to pull out some of these games.
I got you.
I know the game is played on the field, but also preparation is a big key in that. I don't know if he's getting them prepared the way that he needs to win these games.
I got you. Well, dude, we spent 30 minutes on this recap, and I knew we were going to spend a lot of time on it, but do you mind if I spend like the next minute showing off how awesome of a morning that I had with SEC Nation and Eric Berry?
Absolutely. The only other thing that I have to say
you better hurry up, dude. I'm excited.
Fantastic job by the defense yesterday.
Absolutely. And special teams.
Yes.
And running game. And the fans, bro. The fans were crazy, bro.